Problem 121 has us taking a look at a polynomial here. It gives us some information about that. First of all, on a graph, it's going to cross the x-axis at 1. So however this polynomial looks, I know that I have an x-intercept right here at 1. That means the factor that gives that to me is x minus 1. That's the factor that gives 1 as a root. Knowing that information, I'm going to do polynomial division. So to set up my polynomial division, make the box here, my factor of x minus 1 goes on the outside. This polynomial is what goes on the inside of the box, and I want to figure out my other factor, which is on the top. So I always start off these problems with the first number going in the top left. So 2x cubed. From that, I can figure out what goes up top. So x times something gives me 2x cubed, so that's going to be a 2x squared. I then can go through and multiply 2x squared times negative 1 and fill in the box below it. That box then is going to end up being a negative 2x squared. And now I continue the process. These two right here are always going to be like terms, and they're going to add up to my next term, a positive 3x squared. So if I already have a 2x or a negative 2x squared here, I need to figure out what needs to go here in order for that to add up to my 3x squared. So that's going to be a positive 5x squared. So once I have that, I can now again figure out x times something gives me my 5x squared, and that's going to be a positive 5x. Once again, I can now multiply to get this box right here, so I'm going to get a negative 5x. Continue the process with these two here, and they have to add up to a negative 8x, so this has to be then a negative 3x. Negative 3x plus 5x will give me my negative 8x. Once I have that, I can once again get what goes on top, which is now a negative 3. And when I figure out my last box, negative 3 times negative 1 is going to give me a positive 3, which is my constant term, divides evenly. So I know now that that is my, I did my polynomial division correctly, and this is my other factor. So now my factors are x minus 1 times 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. Those are my factors that equal the polynomial. 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 8x plus 3. So what I want to do is figure out when does this now equal 0. So zero product property, x minus 1 equals 0, and that's easy enough to solve. That's the 1, and that's actually the one we started with. The other one, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 equals 0. I now can solve that a couple different ways. I could factor it if it's factorable and use zero product property. Or I could use quadratic formula, or however else I want to go about it. Completing the square wouldn't be the easiest for this one. So I'm just going to go through, and this one is factorable. However, I'm going to go through and do quadratic formula anyways. So starting with this, doing the quadratic formula, I have the opposite of my b value, which is 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times my a value times my c value, and everything divided by 2 times my a value. That's the setup. Underneath the radical, I should always come up with two different numbers. My b squared is always going to be a positive, so that's 25. And then this number right here. So I have a negative 4 times 2 times a negative 3. That is going to give me then a positive, because again, two negatives, a positive 24. All divided by 4. So underneath the radical, I have square root of 49, which is negative 5 plus or minus 7 over 4. And that goes into two separate problems. So I'm going to have a negative 5 plus 7 over 4 and a negative 5 minus 7 over 4. So I get 2 over 4, which is 1/2 from this first one. And for the second one, I get a negative 12 over 4, which is negative 3. So those